Hi. Happy spring. Can you hear me okay? Okay. All right. So yes, we've heard, which is amazing. And I think the question is, how do we release fear, right? How do we start? Because that's where it really comes from. Freedom comes when we stop being the victim first. And that's when we step into our own powers and realize that we are our own authority. At the end of the day, when we stop giving authority away to others, and we realize that each of us are individual, we are beautiful, and we get to say yes or no to whatever it is. All right? So how do we do that? How does the common person even start to do that? They get so wrapped up. They're wrapped up in the mind control, right? Like Dustin was saying. Remind me of your name again? Justin. So Dustin and Justin. That's what okay, got it. All right. So, wow, before I really go off on my rant, I should probably introduce myself. So my name is Mallory Riess. I am a spiritual vitalist. So I help to synthesize all of the esoteric stuff with the really fundamental, down-to-earth physical stuff. So I help people to bring in the spiritual, to bring in where we are going as humanity. And I will tell you, the future is bright. Do not fall into, God bless you guys, but don't fall into the fear of like, holy shit, what the fuck's gonna happen? It's like, we're good. We are moving. As the gentleman in the blue shirt, what's your name? Dave. As Dave was saying, per capita, there is less violence and killing than there was eons ago. It's true. Like, look around you. When you walk to the grocery store, when you go out, like, are you like, I mean, you know, you can watch the news and be fearful, but like, really, are you like looking around fearing for your life? I mean, I know I'm not. I'm usually walking around with a smile and people are smiling back at me because they're always like, oh my God, someone's smiling at me. Just fucking smile sometimes. I mean, like, seriously. Like, what you project out there is what comes back to you. So I'm totally getting off the topic of my thing, but you guys really inspired me, and that's how I function. Off of inspiration more than anything. So, okay, so how do we do that? How do we start to release the fear so we can tap into our own inner authority and know that we get to decide? For me, it starts with cleansing. And like I said, I take the spiritual, the more esoteric, and bring it down fundamentally. So I use a combination of human design, if anyone's familiar with that, the gene keys, all of my spiritual, I have been in my spiritual realm probably since I was little. I use essential oils. I was the kid when my parents got divorced and my mom said, you need therapy. I was like, I don't need therapy. I need some aromatherapy. So, and my mom was like, who is this person that I birthed? But I'm very different than my parents. And then I bring in natural, I use herbs. I believe in the vitalism part, that our bodies, part of pulling out of the system is pulling out of our medical system, because it has got people literally by the balls or the vagina or whatever you want to use there, whatever you identify with. I don't know. I don't care. But so it's realizing, because that's a huge fear thing. Oh, let's go get our yearly checkups and see if there's anything wrong. Let's go do this and see if there's anything wrong. Oh, you came in for this? Well, let's run all of these 50 zillion tests to see if there's anything wrong. And then you're like, holy shit, is there something wrong? Right? So many people, probably not so much people here, but so many people out in the world running around. And when we realize that, first of all, our bodies, our physical bodies, are amazing vehicles. They can heal themselves so well when given the proper foundation. And that's the big thing. Our medical system, God bless them. I think most doctors and nurses that go into it, they truly want to help people. It is the system that they're put through that does not help people. And So when we realize that our bodies, when given the proper foundation, are incredibly healing vehicles, that's where power starts to come in, because most of us are so stuck in this 3D physical realm, right? Kind of have to start there. Mindset is huge. What's going on up here? All this craziness. Emotions. Learning how to process emotions so that then we can release the emotions. And finally, environment. What we first of all surround ourselves with. I'm sure most of us have heard this is, you are a culmination of the 5 people that you're around the most, right? Now I can explain that more energetically. If you know of anything about human design, there's something called penta, which pentas are energetic organisms, if you will, formed when a group of 3 to 5 people come together. Right now we would be in a WA, is what that would be called. That's a different thing. But pentas is when you are, so it's funny because you literally start to have this certain energy when you're around these different people. And when you are consistently around these, 5 different people, you assimilate, you are conditioned by them. Conditioning is not always a bad thing. We always, usually think of it as not a great thing, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. But so when we learn to start cleansing, so in my programs, we always start kind of like with mindset, like why do we cleanse? Why are you cleansing? Why would you need a cleanse? I love this time of year because it's spring. It's the time of renewal, rebirth, all the germination and all of the underlying what has been festering underneath. I don't think festering is a good word for that, but it's what came out. Starts to blossom up, right? It starts to grow and you actually get to see some results on the physical earth. Sometimes our germination takes quite a bit longer. But and then what I love too is, it always cracks me up. So like I said, I'm big into herbs. I love herbs. I think they are amazing. I love many herbs. So I was watching our neighbor weed whack. I live kind of near here on 2.5 acres, and when I used to be like this a few years ago, like, these weeds, get them out of here. And then I started realizing what all those weeds are, right? People chop down all the weeds to, no offense, to grow grass that, doesn't do too much. But we have all these beautiful, beautiful weeds around us that are so healing. I have stinging nettle. I have a lot of stinging nettle on my property. And when I first moved there, I was like, oh my God. Well, and then my midwife was like, oh, you should drink some stinging nettle tea to up your calcium because, just a little side note, if you're pregnant, take extra calcium and magnesium as well as trace minerals because you need those to actually absorb the calcium so it doesn't sit and create bone spurs or in your veins or whatever. But anyhow, so because it will help for the uterus to contract and to help prevent hemorrhaging. So I was like, okay. She was like, so, the stinging nettle on your property, just harvest that, clean it, and turn it into a tea and drink it. And I was like, huh? And then that kind of sparked my interest. I'm like, oh, what else do I have growing wild around here? Because I'm not the best maintainer of our property. And I started learning. And then that sent me down a whole nother path. And so then I learned how to cleanse the body physically, right? We have to start a little bit with the mind. And things happen to me, everything where the spirituality comes from, it's all layers. Nothing is independent. Everything is interconnected. So then I started to learn about how to actually properly cleanse the physical body. Because if there's any type of chronic conditions or pain is always your first indication that something is wrong. Do not ignore your pain. If you really need to, unless it's acute pain, if you hit your head and you have a headache because you hit your head on the wall, that, where that came from. But if you have unexplainable pain, that is not something to ignore. It is a fundamental indication that something is wrong and needs to be addressed. Energy is not flowing properly, whether it's physical energy like the blood or the lymph and all that, or more alignment energy, you are living your life way out of alignment and you've deep down know it, but you don't know how to adjust it. And then, so whenever you're physically cleansing, I always recommend start with your colon. Because if the back door is not clean and clear and that poop is not flowing out nice and smoothly, that is the starting point. So always start with your colon. From there, then you can work your way up to the liver. The liver processes everything. So your liver's next, working on a good liver cleanse. Even if you're not a drinker or whatever, just like existing in the world, the liver has a lot to process. And then from there, the blood. Working on purifying the blood flows through everywhere. And then after you work on the blood, if you have specific areas, like if you have, like one of my good friends constantly has her head hurting, and that's a whole nother thing. But I'm just like, okay, well, we need to start here. People have to be willing to do the work. And I think that's a big part of it is it's a lot of work. And it can be fun work. I think it's an adventure, like ooh, let's figure this out. But that's also very much my personality. So, and then from there, you kind of figure out where you need to go. Like what else? Now, that's not it. I talked about emotional. I have so many people that do all this physical work and they still have physical issues. And it's like, oh, okay, let's look at those emotions. And that's a whole nother ball game for a lot of people, because really looking at your own shit, like truly looking at it, owning it, and first off, just recognizing it. Eventually, the big thing about releasing emotions is kind of like accepting, especially if it's like childhood traumas and stuff, just like accepting that things happen, but that takes time. That's another thing, is having grace with yourself as you work through your whole cleansing process. And then after that, with emotions comes energetics. That's where I love to use human design and the gene keys. If you're not familiar with those, either come and ask me, I will talk your ear off, or go look them up. If you're not familiar with the gene keys, go look that up, because there's a lot in there that will make you realize that the future is bright. The future is bright. It's going to be a little crazy for a while, but the future is bright. We are evolving as a species. And then also looking at your environment. What products? You can't control what you come in contact to outside of the home, but your home is your sanctuary. So what you use is very important. So being mindful of your products. Your skin is one of your big detoxification pathways. And if you are, I'm guilty right now too. Like polyester does not let the skin breathe. So many of the synthetic things that we cover our bodies with, that we sleep in our sheets, if they're not natural fibers, it's really hard for our skin to breathe. And if our skin can't breathe, it gets blocked up, which leads to blockages in the rest of the body. And that, it's just a whole thing. What products we're putting on our body. And also the energetics of our home, who we bring around, who we, again, we can't control who we're coming in contact with outside the home, but who we bring into our homes, we do have some control over. So just cleansing. To me, the first step in really releasing the fear and in my own process has been working on these different layers of cleansing and trusting my own authority. I am a 5-1 sacral generator, if that means anything to you. So I am a yes or no person. You ask me questions and I tell you yes or no. And my first, or So that is... It's like quick. Other people, they have different authorities. Think of authority as your intuition. And our intuition, depending on how we're designed, functions differently for each of us. So, I think that pretty much wrapped it up. Inside, I'm doing like a 3-day juice cleanse here coming up in a couple weeks as part of like the physicality thing. I have a really yummy drink in there and like this very springy glass thing with green leaves, but it's called Ningxia. It's a red drink. Go make sure to drink some of it because it's super yummy. It's really, really good for the body. It has really good trace minerals and foundational nutrients to help the body to heal. But I think I'm done talking. Does anyone have any questions? Okay. Oh, I get a hand and a foot. I'll take the hand and the foot any day, and then I'll make my way this way.
I drink a lot of dandelion juice.
Mm-hmm.
Can you drink nettle as a juice?
Yeah, just make sure you clean it first.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, internally it won't sting. It's just like when those little like pokey fibers like hit the skin is when it's stinging.
And what's another common weed that you like, or common lovely plant that might be considered a weed normally?
Like, so melanin, well, am I saying that right? Can't say it right now. Yes. So I really like that one. If you have like any hormone issues, like hormonal imbalances, that one's super, super good. Again, cleanse first. Make sure the liver, the kidneys are working because your liver processes all those different hormones. But, and then let's see.
What a liver cleansing one, since you mentioned liver cleansing.
A liver cleansing one. Now you're putting me on the spot.
Milk thistle.
Milk. Yes.
Well,
That's
milk
yeah.
thistle, I should get some of that. Okay.
So yeah, and the herb stuff, to be totally honest, I'm just like starting to dive into all that. That's like newer for me. Now that I like have become more aware of like what's around me on my property, I've been going on little adventures like, ooh, what's that?
What's the name of the drink that you're having? Can you quickly go through how you make it?
Yes, so it's called Ningxia Red. I do not make it myself, but it comes from wolfberries, which are goji berries, from the Ningxia province of China. One of the companies that I work with called Young Living, they're an essential oil company. They make the drink, and then so it's just pureed wolfberries with different antioxidant juices like a little cranberry juice, blueberry juice, and then it has essential oils in it. It has a lot of citrus oils like lemon, orange, I think a little bit of grapefruit, which are all super, super cleansing to the digestional tract and helps to break down like plastics and stuff. You know, we all inadvertently ingest plastic, so it's really good for that. But so it's just really cleansing. So I don't make it myself. I just poured the bottle. And I diluted it a little bit. It's a little diluted because it's pretty strong, but yeah. Yeah.
For somebody that maybe got part of their colon removed, would you still recommend like colon cleanse?
100%. So my philosophy, is when we are cleansing out the body or cleaning the body or supporting the body in any way, you still support the body even if that part is missing, because the body's very intelligent. It will accommodate for that missing part. So other parts of the body will kind of take over that role. So still supporting, like if you have like a gallbladder missing, my stepsister's missing her gallbladder, and I'm always like, support it just like it's there, because your liver and your pancreas is kind of picking up the slack there. So, yes, if you have part of your colon removed, definitely just support it, like still cleanse it all out, and then you can kind of like work your way up.
Second part. As far as the modalities for cleaning the colon, can you maybe rank some like hydrocolon therapy or an enema or doing a colon cleanse as far as what you would recommend for somebody starting out with it?
So, I would... Honestly, you're probably not gonna like this answer. Recommend to follow your intuition. Like, what calls to you? Like, what one is like, okay. I don't think that necessarily. I'm a very individual person. Like, to me, it's like we each kind of like when we learn to trust ourselves and we start following that path, things start to unfold a little more naturally and a little more easily because you're coming into alignment with yourself. But so one of my favorite, very gentle kind of herbal cleansers, like if you're not ready for to kind of go down like the enema route just yet, although enemas are super good, so I do recommend them. But is Dr. Christopher's lower bowel formula. You can get it on Amazon if you just look up Dr. Christopher lower bowel formula. It's an herbal formula. It's just in like little capsules that you can take, and you take like 2 of those 2 times a day, and they gently start to clean out the bowels. And it's a very kind of like great, if you're just starting down this journey, it's a really great place to start because it's kind of like not like oh my God. But if you feel called, like you're like, you know what, I'm down. Let's really get down there and like cleanse out, and you want to take an enema or something, do it. Because I mean, like, that's like definitely, most people are like, oh, I don't want to stick something up my ass. But I mean, like, they're very effective. So I would follow your intuition, but a very gentle one to start with is Dr. Christopher's lower bowel formula. Any other questions?
I want to say we found this lemonade and we was like,
Mm-hmm.
and so maybe with this, where does it treat? Do you think? I think we said liver that we found from you. It's just a half a lemon, a little bit of honey,
Yeah.
quite a bit of cinnamon, like a quarter teaspoon,
Uh-huh.
and olive oil. It makes this awesome tonic. It's like it resets the brain and the liver and the gut. Do you think that goes to any specific thing, or when I drink it, it feels like it's reset. It's really good.
Yeah, make sure I would do if you're like, do you ever do like a fast with just drinking that for a few days, or?
I haven't tried that one, but I tried the master cleanse.
The master cleanse, yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yep, that's one of my favorites.
Really similar to me.
Yeah. Yeah. So cinnamon's really, yeah. So the olive oil helps to clean out the colon. It makes it a little easier to pass everything. Yes, that's why I start in the colon. Always start in the colon. Like alcohol? Okay, yeah. Well, that's good. Thank God.
We had a client say, I went on a dry fast, but I'm like, go drink some water.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. Again, I let people like listen to their own authorities, like, but
Day 3, you drink water.
yeah, I mean, I don't. That doesn't interest me at all. But you know, whatever floats your boat. So yes, make sure when you're ever doing like a tonic like that, like just pay attention to the colon, and then so cinnamon is super good for purifying the blood. It's and regulating blood sugar levels. It's really good at regulating blood. Yeah. So when those blood sugar levels are regulated and the lemon helps to like get into the liver, it's really good for the liver to help cleanse that out. We actually technically have more ganglia, which is like the nerves in our digestive system that communicate than we do in the brain. That's why they called the gut the second brain. Really, it's like your first brain. Because if you notice, if you've ever done like a cleanse or was kind of disciplined and ate really, really well for a while, you start thinking better thoughts. It's amazing. You know, we wonder why so many people are depressed and have such shitty thoughts all the time. Look at what they're eating, all the processed food. So, but yeah, so that's it sounds like a great one. The honey probably gives a little bit of glucose and a little bit of trace minerals in there, which is really good. I know whenever I mention the Master Cleanse, people are like, you don't want me to eat for 10 days? I'm going to die. And I'm like, you are not going to die. People have not eaten for a lot longer. But yeah, it gives some good trace minerals there. And then with that, like if you ever do it, so this is always fun. I don't know if you did this when you did your Master Cleanse, but did you do a salt water? The salt water? Yeah. So you can do that with it too to help flush everything out. So what? Yeah, just make sure you're near the bathroom for like the first part. So if you don't know what we're talking about. So a salt flush it's actually really good to cleanse the colon. This is another thing. It's a little nasty to get down, but if you heat it up, it almost tastes like chicken noodles broth. But basically you want to make, I think it's like a quart, don't quote me on it. You can look it up, like Google saltwater flush, because don't quote my ratios, but it's like a quart of water to 2 tablespoons of salt. Use like Himalayan salt or sea salt. Please don't use iodized salt. We can get iodine in better ways than that crap. And then you mix it in there. It's basically like drinking the ocean. It's a little hard to get down, and you want to kind of drink it as fast as you can. If you warm it up, it's a little more palatable. That'll be my like tip there. But and then basically like an hour to 2 hours later, you're going to be hitting the bathroom and all that salt water is going to be pouring out your colon, and it's going to feel weirdly good.
I feel like it was quicker doing it fast, too.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. If you're doing the fast, yeah, that's why they have you do that, because it cleanses the colon. That's why, I mean, the guy that came up with the master cleanse, he knew what he was doing, because it's like, okay, we got to clean the colon. I think that was the end, like, because after 10 days, if you start eating, you are going to F yourself up. You got to, like, slowly start, because that's why you do orange juice for, like, a day, or some type of, like, citrus juice. And then you, like, start with, like, some gentle soups with cooked veggies, because if you try and eat after 10, I believe, I can tell you from personal experience, because one nice thing about the Master Cleanse is it gives your, and the cleansing in general, is it gives your digestive system a break, which when does our digestive system really get a break? I mean, you know, we're conditioned to eat 3 times a day. Listen to yourself on how often and how much you should eat. I'm just going to say that. But food is a huge conditioning field in our society across the world. Yeah, thank you. If you guys have any questions, I'll be around for a little bit, and then I got to head home.